of Christmas Empowerment Series at Team Beauty Official. We are at episode 6, and let me tell you guys, you are in for a treat. We are here at the office, and if you're watching this, we have the amazing Jessica here with us, and a very special guest that, you know, sometimes the things that are unplanned come out better.
Are the best.
Today it is 10 p.m. and we are having our tea. Cheers.
Oh, cheers, ladies.
And what a special time and that we got to invite, you know, our special guest here. Before I give her all to you today, you know, we were chatting. We picked her up from the airport. And said, like, you know what? You should do our next Sunday's episode. And, you know, being the amazing friend that she is, she absolutely said yes. So here we are, 10 p.m.
Straight from Miami.
Just got off the flight, about to have an amazing time. So
I love it.
Thank you, Yanel.
Thank you.
Yanel Rodriguez. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Let me tell you, born and raised in New York City. Were you born and raised in New York? Do that again. She's 32 years old, majored in psychology. Take a note of that because we're going to have a very interesting talk today. Yes. She's married, happily married, and a mommy to such a beautiful boy, Cairo. And she's a very successful entrepreneur today, has changed and impacted many, many lives along with her husband. I mean, successful, hot, overachiever.
I'll take it.
Yes. Such an amazing,
rebellious. Oh my God.
An amazing whole human. Yes. Let me tell you. You know, thank you for saying yes.
Thank you for having me.
We're so excited to have you with us this weekend, but even more to be able to have this bonus.
Yes. This is like off the record, off the charts.
Yes. Have you ever done an episode before?
Never. This is my first podcast ever, so I'm excited.
Oh my God.
Awesome.
So we're popping your sherry.
Yes, we are. This is happening right now. But I'm happy I have tea.
Yes.
So it makes it better.
Okay, perfect. Look, you know, share with us here, you know, a little bit about you. You know, how is it that you sparked up, you know, from your psychology major to entrepreneurship, you know, a little bit about yourself, just so our beautiful audience gets to know you.
Well, thank you for the opportunity. I'm so excited to share my story with you guys. So basically, I went to school. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I knew what I was passionate about. And what made me passionate was helping people. So I was like, okay, I could be a doctor, right? Because that's like the career that like my family would say was respectable. Mm-hmm. So I started, you know, taking all the bio courses, chemistry, and I quickly learned like I was in over my head. That was not for me. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, I need to switch my majors. And I feel like that happens to a lot of people. You go to college and you have an idea, but then you're in for a rude awakening. You're like, that's not for me. You're changing. So I changed my major actually a couple of times. I changed it to philosophy first because I loved the study of life. Mm-hmm. And it really like intrigued me. I didn't even know that that was a thing that you could study life. And just like thinking of the same scenario in different ways. But then I quickly learned that philosophers don't make money. So I'm like, no, scratch that. Like, that's not happening.
I need some money.
So what's next for me? So at that point, I fell into a deep depression in college. I was overweight, and my family was going through like a rough patch. My parents were divorcing. They were, you know, high school sweethearts. I'm the youngest. I have 2 older sisters. My eldest sister was going through miscarriages. So even though I'm the youngest, I was always the one to sit down with the family and like, oh, let's talk. Like, let's work this out together. Like, I was always like mature beyond my years. But nobody knew that I was depressed or that it was affecting me. It was getting to me. I was away in college. I was going to, in Syracuse, there's a Jesuit school called Lemoyne College, and that's where I was attending. But I was literally having suicidal thoughts, and nobody knew. But not funny story. One of my friends, this is like going on a tangent, but one of my friends, it snows really bad in Syracuse. So one of those really bad snowstorms, she found a cat. But the cat ended up being in heat, and she was going to leave the cat out in the snow. And I was like, no, I'm going to take the cat. So I took the cat to my dorm room, which is not allowed. And I have really bad allergies with cats. So I figured I have to shower the cat. I've never had a cat in my life. You don't shower cats. So I put him in the bathroom and was like, scratched me up bad. But the next day in class, my teacher saw that and basically recommended me to go see the psychologist on campus, which I'm so grateful that they have free therapy for students on campus, because that's so important. Nowadays, so many people need mental health assistance, but is not covered for a lot of people. So I'm grateful that that was readily available. It was cat scratches, but I couldn't say that, so they assumed that I was cutting myself. Right. Okay. But I went into therapy, and it came out, that everything that I was feeling, and I got the help that I needed. And the first thing he said was, you need to start working out and like talking about my mind and how sometimes your mind plays tricks on me. And that was just so interesting that I ended up switching my major again to psychology. So what should have taken me 4 years really took 5 years and a half for me to complete, my college. But I'm so happy that I did. Long story short, everybody graduates college, thinks they're going to find a job in their field right away. It took me 2 years to find a job in my field. And the only reason why I got that job was because of, like, a friend of a friend that recommended me. Like, it wasn't even, like, based off, like, my skill. Right, my resume, which is what I thought would happen, and that wasn't the case. And I hated it. It was a desk job, sedentary job, and I gained even more weight. It was helping kids with developmental delays. So I felt like I was doing a difference, but it was more about the money than the actual service that we were doing. And I was just depressed all over again. And I had already been through that. But when I recovered the first time around, I promised myself I wouldn't put myself in that situation again. Like, I already knew the triggers, and my job was literally triggering me to go back. And it scared the shit out of me. My boss would sit behind me at my desk, and one day she asked me, Janelle, 10 years from now, where do you see yourself? And I started sobbing. And she's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, it's okay. She said, was it something I said? And I was like, it's just that when you asked me that question, I literally saw myself here at this desk, and I don't want that to be my future. Oh, wow. And at that moment, I started seeking for something else, because I knew that I didn't want to be there. I didn't know where I wanted to be, but I didn't want to be there. And I found my sponsor, my coach on social media. We were friends from before, but we had lost connection. And she was just a different version of herself, super tapped into what we're going to talk about today. Okay. And I saw that, and that became super attractive. And I didn't know what she was doing, but I knew that whatever she was doing, I had to do, because I wanted to feel and look and communicate to other people the way she was.
Powerful.
Yeah. So that changed everything for me, that moment.
Wow. And, it's amazing how you're describing, so many different scenarios of your life that will be that domino effect really to where we really need to be. Yeah. And so then from there, you decided to start your entrepreneurship, your business. Was this before or after your husband?
We were dating.
You were dating?
Yeah, boyfriend and girlfriend.
Okay. Wow. How long have you been, running your business?
So I have 8 years.
8 years running your business. Yeah. Awesome. Wow. Well, let's cut to the chase here. It's every episode, right? Cheers to that.
Cheers to that.
Thank you for giving us a little backstory. That's important, right? Because, we all have a message behind our mess, right?
Yeah.
And the stories are important because it's only through stories that we're able to relate, inspire, right? And then say, what actions can I personally take to start moving my personal life in that direction? And questions so simple, maybe, yet powerful, like, where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah.
Triggered.
Yeah.
And if you really think about it, if you're listening to us, and if you really think, where do I see myself in 3, 5, 10 years? It's not only at my work, right? It could be spiritually, physically, relationally, right? With your marriage, with yourself, all of these different things. And inside of what we do and through all of these different episodes, we've been really just, being able to see the different stories and why we do what we do and why we are who we are. Like this part of transformation and this part of becoming and not staying in the same place is very, how do you say, like,
For me, it's addicting.
addicting.
But once you're in the game, it becomes like, I want more.
But you gotta get in the game.
But you gotta get in.
first.
It's scary to get in this game of like
Transformation.
becoming more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, what more can I do for myself, right? For everybody around me. So let's get into topic here. We're gonna talk about.
Let's do this.
Are you gonna say it, Jess, or am I gonna say it?
We are gonna talk about the pussy power.
Yeah.
When she said it, guys, I was like, what did you say?
I needed
What are we
permission.
talking
I'm like,
about?
is it okay?
She asked for permission. I'm like, girl, you don't need permission.
So I go on like
they're
this.
gonna love it.
I go on these like this season in my life where I'm stuck on a topic. And this season in my life, I'm stuck on this topic. Like, I'm so passionate.
The pussy topic?
On the pussy power topic.
Okay.
And I'm talking to every single woman that I get in front of me about this topic. Because it's just a topic that's, like, empowering me. And it's working for me. And if it's working for me, I know for a fact it's going to work for other women out there.
And it could be an uncomfortable topic for people, right? Because
I
we're
don't
not
feel
used
like
to that. But
I don't feel like I've ever
so
heard
many people,
anybody talk about this. And when you feel something in your heart and your gut and nobody else is talking about it, that's an indication that it's up to you. Like, that's because it's your place to talk about it. So it's like, this was unplanned.
Correct.
But it's planned
Yeah.
by,
Exactly.
God or
Yes.
the universe, whoever you believe in. But there's something orchestrating everything that we're experiencing. And we could get wrapped up in trying to control everything. But if we just learn to stand still in the chaos and listen and show up as a student of life, you'll be surprised, like, how everything is just there to serve you.
This is a women empowerment podcast. So women is our audience, just in case you're wondering, right? Women is our audience, and it is within us, that not only can we transform physically, through good nutrition and, exercise, but that the most important one is us being able to get that mental health, understand that, what we believe about ourselves and who we are. And so, what is pussy power?
So there's a lot of like layers. Like you could start very superficially and just think like, the most obvious, which is like vagina, right? And just stepping into your feminine power. And or you can dive deeper and talk about like the power of our vagina, how it brings life and how that sets us apart from, the male, figures in our lives. Or you could step in further and think about how, most women are blocked from their pussy power. And what does that mean in our personal lives? Like, and where does that come from? And why is that the case? Where if you think of our counterparts, males, they don't necessarily experience the same things or experience life the way we do. And like reflecting on that, like why is that?
Okay, so let's track back a little bit. I see that you brought a book here with us. I'm a Mexican. Oh, Mexican.
Mexicanas.
What are you? Dominican, but raised in New York.
Yeah, right. Disclaimer.
Yes, because we're in Texas and you're in New York, right? And so I feel that it really does depend on your culture, your environment, how you were raised, whether or not that's blocked, how you think about yourself, how you portray yourself. Those limiting beliefs come from how we were raised.
Believe it or not, my family is pretty strange in the sense that we're majority women. So I grew up in women empowerment. Like my mom is one of 12 women and 3 brothers. And then in my household, it was 4 women and my dad. So women always outnumbered in my surroundings. Like I was born into that. However, having an overwhelming presence of women, we didn't speak about pussy power. It was very, well, I'm Latina. I don't know if every Latina culture is like this, but in the Dominican culture, it's like we serve the men. Like it's like a very like submissive kind of role. It's not a dominant role. Although I do have dominant women in my family, but still you'll see them playing that role of like, oh, but I have to be submissive. I can't be myself. But me growing up in this world, I'm first American born, I'm exposed to a whole different world. I'm in New York. You know what I mean? We're not in Dominican Republic anymore. Like I'm exposed to so much. It sparked this rebelliousness of like, I see that that's our history. That's where we come from. But from here on out, I don't want to repeat history. I want to do it differently while still honoring my heritage and my culture. But I want to be more powerful for future generations to come. And that requires me to step into my pussy power. Yeah.
Wow. So did that come since you were very young, at a very young age, or did it come after everything that you just talked about when we started, like the suicide thoughts, the depression, all of that?
So in reflection, I feel like I've always had that innate curiosity for my pussy power. Something as little as like when I'm coming out of the shower and I have my towel on, I'll take it off and look at the mirror and like just curious to see what is down there, because we can't see. We can't see. But yes, someone else sees it. Let's say you lose your virginity, somebody else sees it and you see their eyes. They're just like, boom. And it's like, pero que vieron que hay ahí abajo. You know what I mean? Like, ¿qué es lo que es? So it's like, you see the power, the pussy power reflect on men when they have possession of it. But we have possession of our pussy power 24/7, but it's dormant.
It's yours.
It's dormant. We have it off. We need to learn to turn ourselves on in order to take full possession of our power. And all of that is natural, is free. Like we're born with this. Like we're walking around with our bodies. It's kind of like in Herbalife, I learned that we have a body, but we don't know how to nourish it correctly. We don't know how to take care of it correctly. It's the same thing. It's like we have a mind, but we don't fully understand the full potential of our minds. We don't know how to stretch our minds. It's the same thing when it comes to our sexual reproduction organ. Like, it's a whole world down there. And if you explore it, you'll discover layers of you. Like, literally, layers of you and dimensions. You could literally, like, expand your mind just by exploring your vagina. It's pretty awesome.
So... Since you were little, right, you've had this curiosity and everything, but you still went through like
because when I was little, I didn't just pop up in front of the mirror and try and check what was under there.
No, so you were very curious, of course, but then you still went through the struggles, right? The thoughts, the depression, most people go through that. But when do you think you really discovered it? Like, this is why I was so curious. This is why, everything started falling into place.
I feel like once I lost my virginity and you feel what the full expression of that, because let's say you're masturbating, and this is another topic of like how we have that blockage. Like when we're growing up, your mom, the sisterhood that's around you doesn't tell you like, have you touched yourself yet? Like, you know, do you have a dildo? Like that is not talked about. But in the man world, it's like, vamos a hacerte hombre. Eso es como like, that's a must. Like, I need to graduate my son. You know what I mean? Like, it's like a whole different energy. It's like, they're going to throw a whole party for you. Tu mamá encuentra una toalla dura and it's like, te lo va a celebrar. And it's like, di que no. And it's for us, it's like a whole, it's the flip of that. It's like shameful. Like, you better not. Like, no.
Hiding shit.
Yeah, you got to protect that for your husband and for when you get married. And it's like the flower and all this stuff. Then it's like, it limits us. It blocks us from the beginning in that department. And it's such a powerful department. Our sexual lives influence every single area. I feel like if you're having good sex, tell me you're not going to be happy. Yes. You're going to be happy. Yeah. Unfortunately, you'll be surprised how many women don't climax. Like how many people, how many women are having sex and they're not actually enjoying themselves, and they don't even feel that they can voice it. They don't even feel like they could tell their partner, you know, I really like this. They're waiting for their partner to tell them how they should have sex. And it's like, it's both. Like they for sure tell you, no, I want this. I like it like this. They're very vocal. Why? Because that confidence, that sexual confidence was taught from beginning, you know? So it's like, this is not okay, but this is our norm. So if we want to change it, we have to talk about it. And we have to make this okay. It's a normal thing. It's totally normal.
For women to step into their power.
For women
to step into their pussy power.
Their pussy power. But your power starts from, like, owning yourself and understanding, like...
So when you lost your virginity, what happened?
So that's another thing. That's a whole... When they lose their virginity, it's all fun. And by the way,
for everybody's listening, like, stay focused, okay? Stay focused, because this could be something where you're like, okay, no, I'm not about to be hearing about this pussy every other word.
Because they're
pussy,
blocked,
right?
blocked, so blocked.
Stay focused and understand, right?
There's a purpose.
That you are trying to improve yourself. You're on this podcast for a reason. And we want to empower you, right, through your story, you know, to be able to understand and untap, you know, maybe something that we all know, because we know, right? But we don't talk about, and we don't express or even accept that that could be something that could untap a different version of us.
We're literally completely different than men. And that's our strength. It's not our weakness.
Say that again.
We're literally completely different from men, and that's not our weakness, it's our strength. When we lose our virginity, for them, it's 100% pleasure. For us, it's pain plus pleasure. The woman experience is always pain plus pleasure. Our vagina is not just for sexual pleasure. We birth through our vaginas. And you're a mom.
Of 3.
You know.
Vaginal birth, all 3 of them.
You know. That is some real what your pussy
and
can
right
do.
After it felt so good.
Right.
That's true.
Right. So it's like, you know, understanding that we're built different. We're literally built different. And there's a purpose for that. But if we're not tapped into, like, honoring and appreciating, for a long time in my life, I hated being a woman. I hated it. I wanted to be a man. Not like, you know, change my sexuality and do all the dramatic stuff. Not that there's anything wrong with that. But what I mean by that is that I felt like we always had the shorter end of the stick. Like, we got our periods every single month. And it's like, being a woman was like not fun. It was like, ¿qué es esto? Dios mío, pero ¿por qué tenemos que sufrir tanto? Right? Why we gotta suffer? This is a prison. But now, as a woman who stepped into my pussy power, is like, everything that has value comes with a cost. That's the price we have to pay, because that's how much power we have.
Preach, sister.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
But now I have appreciation for being a woman, where before I just saw the baggage that came with it. But now that I'm stepping into my pussy power, of course, it has to hurt us, because then we would never value and appreciate it. You know, but it's unfortunate that a lot of women never get to that point to appreciate it and to really fully understand the capacity that they have in this world to really make a difference. It's crazy.
I'm like
tapping into my pussy power,
still
Jerry.
Right now.
Even
I am
like,
still.
do you understand? Like, Kegels are so important.
Yeah.
Yes, I like doing those.
Yeah,
They're very important. A lot of people don't do
exercise.
them. And yeah, that's something that you can do literally in plain right now. You could do them right now, and nobody would know. Nobody would even know.
I'm doing them as we speak.
Right, exactly. It's like a little friendly reminder, girls. Do your Kegels.
Do your Kegels.
You know. But it's like little things like that. Like, that's so important for your vagina health, you know? And even, we don't even talk about that.
Yeah.
You know? Like, little things that is like, why don't we talk about it? Like, it's so important.
And what do you think, like, now that you've been able to tap into this? I know you're reading this book, The Rise of Women in Wealth. I'm reading it backwards. The Rise of Women in Wealth. What do you think, like, now reading this book, and like you say in the past couple of months you've really been passionate about this subject, what is your next step for this? Like, what is it that you want to do? Or do you have like something for the audience that's like, you know, this is where you start? Because some people don't even know where to start. Like, where do you start with this?
Or even from the book, like, what are some things that you've been able to, like,
well, the book
intertwine and be like,
speaks in particular about how the wage gap between men and women, we're getting it closer to being equal, but it's still not equal. And it's talking about how now women are making more money than ever. However, they're not keeping it because we're behind with our financial literacy. So these are all big words. But
I like it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, she dives into the history as to why do we have such a gap when it comes to financial literacy. And the reason why is because for centuries, women were considered literally the inferior sex. Like, innately, we were born less than men. Like, they were more important than us. For a long time, women didn't even have an identity. Like, your husband had to speak for you. Like, you couldn't even speak for yourself. You know what I mean?
I'm
like in school, I consider myself now as an adult that I'm curious and I'm like wanting to learn things. I feel like when I was in school, I wasn't ready for a lot of things. I just wasn't curious about history or nothing like that. But reading this book, it dives into the history of women and like little things of how like slavery was abolished before women even had the rights to vote. Blew my mind. Like, because I'm thinking, you know, women have had rights for forever. You know, because it's like we take it for granted, everything we have. But especially in today's day and age, it's so important for us to know how we got to where we're at, because if not, we could lose it all because we don't value and appreciate it. But there's women that literally risk their entire life for us to be free. You know what I mean? But we have all this freedom, but we're not even taking full advantage of it. But here, this woman is writing a whole book about how we could take it a step further and help each other keep the wealth for generations to come. It speaks about how most men have, most of the stocks and investments are done by men and not women. And maybe there's a household where the woman is financially putting into those stocks and investments, but the name is under the man. So the importance of every person in the household having their own stocks, their own investments, because as an individual, you are a corporation. You know what I mean? As an individual, and to protect your future, your children's future, you don't know what the future lies. So it's like so important, all of these things, like to speak about these things and to educate ourselves so that we could change the generations to come, because if not, we're just going to be repeating the same thing. You know, we're doing better, but we could do so much more.
I feel like here, you know, we've been doing this empowerment movement for the last 8 years. And I think, you know, Jerry and I, we've seen a lot of this. Like a lot of people, women start with us, and a lot of it is a lot of what you're talking about. Like, you know, they didn't believe in themselves. They were maybe, you know, stay-at-home moms, which is completely fine. But then when we bring them into this and start, you know, they start seeing and getting a purpose, they start tapping into like their power. And that's something that I love about what we do and what we're doing here. But this is like even tapping into it farther, like why, it makes you understand like the history of like why we're like this. Of course, our culture, but then from our culture it goes back even more. Like imagine the culture in the book they're talking about, but then imagine the Latino culture also, you know, there's so many things that stem back
and, you know,
to
like
it.
Also like we're in the Americas, so again we take things for granted. I just came from Turkey. And over there's still women that cover themselves like completely from head to toe, like, and they're still stuck in the past where they don't have rights. Like the father of the family has the rights of all the women, and he makes the choices for them of when they get married, who they marry, like all these things that, again, we may think that that's a thing of the past, it's never happened to us, but it's literally happening right now in the world still.
So it happens in our backyard sometimes.
Yeah, I was going to say, sometimes you don't have to be in Turkey, but we are, you know, seeing and being exposed to people that do that. And at the end of the day, we have freedom of choice, right? We have this freedom of choice. We have the freedom to decide when we change, when we move, when we become more, when we become better. And you know, as you're talking about slavery and history, you know, you really like lit this fire or this light in me where it's kind of like mental health, right? Depression, anxiety, feeling stuck, and like all of these things. Is that forced on us, or is that, you know, our personal decision because we're blocked, because we don't accept help, or we aren't brave enough to go get help? Either or. It's like, but you know, we're made for more. We are already powerful. And you know, when is it gonna be that day where we draw the line and say enough is enough? I have freedom, I have the power of choice, I have pussy power. Like when is that gonna be for you, if you're listening? Like where you draw the line and say, like, enough is enough, and I have the power to change how I feel, how I'm treated, right? How I'm spoken to, and I can be better because I have all of that available to me.
Yeah. And I feel like you could also tap into that multiple times in your lifetime. Yeah. Like
at different levels.
At different levels. Like we have this understanding that growth is like this and is not. Like there's peaks and valleys. So there's gonna be moments in your life where your pussy power is dormant, like it's not on. And that's fine. Like we all need to recharge. You know what I mean? But eventually you have to get yourself to the point to turn it back on. And how do you do that? Is by exposing yourself to women that are having these conversations, that are tapped into their pussy powers. Because just being in that environment, it's contagious. Yeah. I don't know if you guys know this, but I also gave birth at home. Like by myself, like no medication. Like willingly? Willingly. Okay. I planned a home birth. And in learning about that, because I'm crazy and I read books and all that stuff, I learned that even having a woman just in the corner doing nothing, just having her in your space eases the pain and helps you give birth faster.
Wow.
Like, she doesn't have to speak, she doesn't have to talk, just being her presence is more than enough. Wow. And that goes to show like how powerful we are if we're truly in support of one another, like that sisterhood. So again, just like really valuing and appreciating each other as women as well. That's empowering your pussy power. But oftentimes we're stuck in this cattiness and this competitive kind of nature, and that creates even more blockage.
Instead of empowering.
So it's just like that awareness of we already have the odds set against us. We don't have to stack them higher. You know what I mean?
No
like let's work together. Let's really be clear on like what's the enemy at hand. And that question that you had earlier, like, is it imposed on us, that blockage, or is it self? And I feel like it's both. Yeah. Because, you know, today's day and age, like, you know, we're stuck on our phones and it prevents us from connecting, from having these powerful conversations, the scrolling, the comparison, all of that feeds into the depression, the anxiety. But being aware helps you not eliminate it, because I think it's a part of this world, technology, but having healthy limits for it and understanding like what pages to follow, because all of that is influencing your mind. You know, I feel like there's pages that I literally have to block and delete and remove them from my existence because they don't bring any good energy to me, or they don't inspire good thoughts of growth. Now there's other pages that do. And literally just by seeing one video, one story, I'm like, I'm ready to go. Let's go. Let's do this. You know what I mean? So it's like, again, if you're tapped into that, or at least you want to tap into that, you're going to find people, opportunities that are going to help you get there. But you first have to want and be exposed to this conversation to even know that that's available to you.
And I feel like, talking on this subject and thinking like how much depression there is on there in with women, how much mental health, like all of these things that women are going through in everyday life. You know, speaking of this, I'm like, could it be that their pussy power is blocked?
Yeah, and I also feel like
discovered it, and they haven't.
That's a good thing that you're talking about.
Like, I'm like the emoji with the head.
In history, here in this book, it talks a lot about patriarchy and how our government is mainly ran by men. So all our laws and cultures are geared around men mentality. So it's also an agenda, I believe, to keep us as the inferior sex, or at least, because we're not, at least keep us believing that we are. Because can you imagine, like I said, the CEOs, we have very limited amount of CEOs. I don't know exactly the number, but I believe it's less than 10 CEOs in the US. You can Google it, double check, but it's not a lot, it's not many. And every female CEO that takes over the company increases sales in that company. Like, they make it better by taking over. So can you imagine the White House being filled by women? The impact, the change.
Girl, let's not get into that right now.
But who knows? Maybe the next, female president is listening to this.
Hell yes.
Whatever it is that you're passionate about, we have to go full force and not hold ourselves back at all, because literally the world needs it. It needs more pussy power.
Cheers to the pussy power.
Yes.
I love it. I love all of this topic. And, if you are finding value, make sure you share on all of your platforms, because people need to hear what we're talking about. Let's talk about action steps. There's so many different areas in our life where we create success. It's crazy. Before I get into it, I was just thinking, so many times, girlfriends, we go out for tea, for lunch, for brunch, whatever. We talk about some of these things, right? Especially, when you're in relationships and it's like, I didn't feel like it, or we haven't, in such a long time, or I know, like this. And like, it's like we're blocking all of that, right? But at the end of the day, you said something so important. It's like, it doesn't take somebody else to ignite that. And if you actually know how to ignite yourself and what actually, turns that switch on, then you wouldn't have that many problems. Is that true or no?
Yeah, 100%. We're talking about sex, right?
Yeah.
But that translates because the mind that you're having sex
and everything
is the same mind that you're working, that you're running your business. It's the same mind that you're having conversations with your best friend, with your girlfriends. So the same relationship, what's showing up in your bed is showing up in life in every area. So if you're not comfortable enough to demand your wants and needs in bed with your significant other, for sure you're not demanding your wants and needs in life. So it's like we got to think about that. So we have to be confident enough in order to speak up our wants and needs in the bed, because that's practice for the real world. For everything else,
Absolutely.
Yo no tengo pelo en la lengua.
Me encanta.
If I want it, I will wake you up. Like, it's happening. Like, no,
get up
like
right now.
Get to work.
Girl, I'm working. I'm on, trust me. I'm on. But why am I? It's because, I do talk with a lot of people. I am around a lot of women. And, I feel that obviously I didn't know how to have this conversation. You've taught us today how we can have this conversation. But, so many times we want to blame others for our being, for our reality, for our feelings, for the way we are and all of this stuff. And it's like, when are you gonna get up and like go to the gym, even if nobody tells you? When are you gonna get up?
Do it for you.
Yeah, when are you gonna get up? When are you gonna feel good for yourself? When are you gonna feel sexy? They never tell me that I'm sexy. They never tell me that I'm beautiful. They never.
People will treat you how you treat yourself. Exactly. So if you're not saying those things to yourself, why would anybody else tell you? You're beautiful. Like when my husband tells me, "Oh, tú estás linda," inside I say, just say.
Exactly.
But in real life, I say, thank you. Because you have to be polite. Exactly. You know what I mean? We got to keep it cute.
But you're like, I know.
But inside, I'm like, I know.
Me.
Like,
stop sweating
little
me.
things. Like, there's little things that we do, let's say. I'll maybe there's girls that relate and maybe girls that don't relate. But let's say I love fashion.
Me too.
You guys can relate.
Me too.
There's very little times that I go out. We spoke about this. But when I do, most of the time, thanks Herbalife for giving me all the events and all the traveling, they give me the excuse to show up and like whip out the nice things. When I do, I like to ask my husband, what do you like? You like this or whatever? And he'll tell me, ay, no, me gusta el otro. And I'm like, me gusta este. Like, in the end of the day, I already was going to wear what I want. Like, I really don't care what you think. But there's women that are like, ay, ¿te gusta esto? No, tú no vas a salir con esa falda. Quítate esa falda. Not even my dad told me what to wear. You crazy. You crazy that a man is going to tell me you can't wear that.
Crazy girl. Crazy
what?
girl.
But there's women that literally let men dictate their lives. And again, this is where I feel like I'm like rebellious.
Yeah.
Because that's alien to me. That literally like angers me.
And this has nothing to do with feminism, by the way.
No.
Okay? I'm putting a disclaimer for the ones that still don't get it.
Right. It's about respecting our freedom and that independence and how you came to this world by yourself. And you're going to leave this world by yourself. And our sole purpose in life is to realize our full potential. And if you're living life based on somebody else's term, how could you ever find out what your full potential is? Because they're already limiting you. They're telling you what you can and cannot do. Blockage. We can't live like that. There's no growth there.
Blockage.
We can be here all night.
This topic, yeah.
Girl,
I could.
We're sipping on some tea, but bring the tequila.
We're gonna bring another subject, but I better not. And we gotta go pick up your luggage.
Let me before I just want to say our business, our sisterhood, everything that we've been able to do around our business has allowed us to connect to different people, and you're one of those special humans that, you know, we don't know you for a very long time.
I love you, girl.
But there was a spark.
I felt it.
Okay, there was a spark, and you know, it's like you get to connect, and when you're open to meeting people you don't know, when you're open to listening to what people have to say, beautiful relationships start to form. And you know, today we have you here gifting us with this topic, and so thank you. I appreciate you. I wanted to make sure to tell you that. And so before we finish today, you know, if there could be 3 action stepping into your pussy power, your full potential, you know, woman up, okay, rise up, however you want to put it, you know, what would you tell to that beauty that is listening, that is like, oh, I needed to hear that, but like, what is that shift and that change this week that they can start to do?
Action plan. Like,
give me the action plan.
Okay, number 1, first and foremost, masturbate. As crazy and as cringy as that may sound to you, do it. At your terms. I'm not going to tell you how. Like you figure it out.
Figure it out.
It's yours, you know, you got to learn how to use it. 2, go to your next like girl event. Like I know you guys have the pink party coming up. That's a perfect opportunity.
Next
Show
week.
up. Get around women. I do like my Booty Thursday dance classes, and it's the perfect excuse for women to come together and just shake their butts, you know? No judgment, like dim lights, the disco lights that you have here, the good music, and it just creates that ambience of acceptance and women's support. So find something like that is all women, that is a space where you feel safe so that you can have these types of conversations often. And last but not least, I would say take care of your body, because unfortunately and fortunately, we live in a very superficial world where our looks really define how we feel. So at the beginning, it's going to feel superficial and external, but if you work on the outside, eventually it leads to the inside. And I didn't know that in the beginning until I lost my first journey in Herbalife. I lost 45 pounds. But I'll be honest, looking back in pictures, I was skinny, like really skinny. But I would look in the mirror and still feel fat. Ridiculous. But now, postpartum, I've lost a ton of weight. And I feel like the mindset and the body matches now. Like I look in the mirror and I'm proud and I'm happy at what I see. So definitely work on your body, but do it in a healthy way where you're combining the physical with your mindset and you're taking care of your mental health.
Love that. I hope you wrote those 3 down. 1, 2, 3. Let's get into that action. And here, you know, we have a gift for you.
No.
I mean, you are talking about. I hope you're watching it on YouTube. If you're not, I know on Spotify we also have the video, but make sure you watch the video, because I am in my hands holding the Teen Beauty Pink Party gift. So you just said number 2, get around women, you know, be in that space. At the Pink Party, not only are they going to have all of that, plus amazing food, amazing ambiance, you know.
I'm so mad I'm not going to be here.
We have one in McAllen and San Antonio, so if you want to take a direct flight. Make sure you guys have an opportunity to still get your ticket. This is the gift that the girls are going to receive. Let me show it. There it is. Look, she's like,
it's mine.
I love it. The pink is so beautiful.
Yes, so Team Beauty gift right there, and it's yours.
And in the bag.
And they're going to get it in this beautiful bag.
It's the details.
It is pink, by the way.
Wow.
Yes. Super nice.
It's all about the details.
This is yours.
You guys are so cute.
Thank
like
you
everything
for
you guys
time.
are doing for the community, amazing. I look up to you guys for real. Thank you for setting the example on how to do it right.
Thanks. We love you.
We love you
too.
If you found value in this podcast today, make sure to share it to your platforms, tag a friend, and get to action, girls. Step into that pussy power.
Get it, girls.
I love it. Thank you, guys.